I will firstly address African culture in Jumping Monkey Hill, which will be one of the themes discussed in this movie. Adichie uses a close perspective which is in the form of third-person omniscient, as readers are aware of the thoughts and feelings of Ujanwa. To frame the narrative, the main protagonist, Ujanwa, a fiction writer who is from Nigeria, is invited to an elite African writer's workshop at Jumping Monkey Hill, a resort near Cape Town where she imagined affluent tourists would dart around taking pictures of lizards and then return home still mostly unaware that there were more black people than red-capped lizards in South Africa. Jumping Monkey Hill also follows the stories of several other African writers at the workshop, such as the Zimbabwean, the Senegalese woman, the Tanzanian man, and asks the reader to consider what defines African literature in our current historical moment. The narrative structure follows a linear progression with the inclusion of flashbacks, which are made within her stories. In response to Edward's decree that the gay Senegalese writer's story of coming out to her family is not a reflection of Africa, Ujunwa asks hotly, which Africa? The arc hinges on Ujunwa revealing that her story is autobiographical, hence African. After her work is criticized as implausible, it isn't a real story of real people, as James Gibbons writes in a recent Book Forum article on what he describes to be an African literary boom. The world bequeathed to the ascendant generation of African writers has never been anything other than rapidly shifting, absurd, fitfully Americanized, too often convulsive, and yes, contaminated by history's poisons. Adichie writes in present text generally consisting of English. The stories that Ujunwa writes are evidently a symbol that foreshadows actual outcomes in Ujunwa's present life and ultimately a symbol that African literature is real literature. The contrast between male and females is made obvious, and it is accentuated a lot with the orientation of the book, which is then at the climax challenge when Ujunwa finally takes a stand. Personal growth has been shown a lot lately by women. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's short story Jumping Monkey Hill is a great example of a Nigerian woman named Ujunwa. By writing and reading out about her life, Ujunwa shows us readers from the beginning to the end of the story that her personal growth grew. She stood up for herself and showed female readers what they can do. For centuries, women have had to endure inequitable treatment which has been placed upon them. No say, no rights, along with the seemingly prejudiced treatment, has ultimately placed women throughout the world as the least favorable human. However, advancement has made in terms of equal rights for both men and women in the society which surrounds both me and you. Despite this progress within our culture, various other cultures still adhere to these old-fashioned ways, resulting in the remains of an unjust world for women. Adichie's short story, Jumping Monkey Hill, is a prime example of this ongoing issue within Africa and Nigeria. Ujunwa, a Nigerian writer, undermines the typical woman within her culture through her academic success and the crucial fact that she is more than just a wife to a man. Although throughout the story, Edward, the commander of the writer's workshop, somewhat tests her success in treating her as though he is the superior writer and acts as though he has the virtue to treat Ujunwa as an object in comparison to a human being. Adichie emphasizes the unequal treatment as the Ugandan sat in the front seat and Ujunwa was introduced last, ultimately alluding to this notion of women continuously being there for the men yet constantly being treated as inferior. Through the telling of Ujunwa's story, this concept continues when the yellow woman which husband-snatched Chioma's father is beaten by Chioma's mother, who within our society quite definitely deserves the ability to feel this crucial pain of being betrayed, although is alternatively yelled at by Chioma's father. However, in spite of this discriminatory treatment, Ujunwa takes a stand towards Edward, the man whom unceasingly attempted to belittle her, when she laughed and laughed, stating that she knew it was the last time she would ride in the jeep. This alludes to the certainty that she will never succumb to being treated as anything less than a human being. In order to find oneself, it should be preached that no matter what you believe in, who you love, your gender, the culture in which you grew, in the end who you are, every single human being on this glorious earth which holds our existence is equal. With this mindset, the world will continue to progress in a way in which pleases the minds of everyone, as everyone will share one thing, and that is the ability to be seen as a person, nothing more, nothing less. Thank you and goodbye. Oh, I've never been tested like that in my entire life. Maddie.